Welcome back to the Black Raww Podcast. I'm your host, Tino. I ain't gonna repeat it. Here's a podcast that's creating the dialogue and the space for black men to be their most authentic. So, guys, you know our Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, if you're in the UK, you know of him. He recently said something about rip-off university courses, courses that don't sort of add value and things like that. Let me show you what he said, actually. Here you go.
It's been great to be here at this school in Tower Hamlets talking to so many bright young people about their futures. Now, I want to build a country and a society where no matter where you're from and your background, you can fulfill all your dreams and aspirations. Now, our job in government is to give all the young people that I've been talking to today the opportunities they need to succeed. Now, for many people, university is the right answer and it does brilliantly, but actually there are a range of people who are being let down by the current system. They're being taken advantage of with low quality courses that don't lead to a job that makes it worth it, leaves them financially worse off. That's what we're clamping down on today, but at the same time making sure that young people have a range of fantastic alternative opportunities, whether that be apprentices or higher technical qualifications, for example. So the key message is, look, you don't have to go to university to succeed in life. There are a range of fantastic options, and that's what we're delivering.
And can you?
I find this really interesting because he doesn't even discuss what rip-off courses are. And, for somebody that studied psychology and criminology, that probably could be described as a rip-off course. My guest today also studied psychology at university, and I don't think he will think that either. We both got immense value out of studying those topics. And in this episode, actually, we talk about our interest for psychology and for how psychology helped Nathan actually understand people and be able to take psychology, and he ended up doing business development as well, and be able to marriage the two to understand how, psychology can work in the workplace and how you can empower people while working with them. Nathan is also a coach, and he recently created a business called Step Up Coaching. And Nathan comes onto the podcast to talk about that. He also comes on the podcast to talk about his interest and his passion for men's mental health. And we talk about Tyson Fury and how he has bipolar, and the biggest, the strongest of men that we know has actually suffered from a mental illness. And we talk about how, as men, how can we use that to understand that if you're struggling, it's okay. Like the biggest man in the world. Well, he's not the biggest man in the world, but you know what I mean. Like boxer, huge, pinnacle of man. Like how he has struggled with mental health. And I also wanted to share something with you that Nathan wants to share with everybody. So I'm actually going to let Nathan do the talking.
Somebody asked me the other day, why is the ABCD workshop free? It seems like you're giving away way too much value. And the truth is, I probably am. However, I want to reach as many men as possible. This is key. And these are the areas why all of my clients come to me. And this is how you can increase your value as a man. I want to see you get more dates. I want to see you have healthier relationships. I want to see you improve your appearance, whether that's going to the gym or just general grooming. And I also want to see you guys smashing your careers and earning more money than ever. This is only going to be a bite-sized version of what there is to offer. However, it's going to give you the tips and tricks that you need to start self-improving from the date of the workshop. The date of the workshop is the 7th of September, 7 till 8:30 p.m. And all you have to do to join is DM me and I'll reserve your spot. So get on it.
So, I hope you guys really... Hold on. So, as you heard there from Nathan, he's got a discussion group that is happening on the 7th of September. I'm going to put the link into the description so you can go and check that out. And I also wanted to share one thing with you too. On Tuesday, the 5th of September, from 7:30 to 8:30, I've actually got a discussion group myself where the topic is what makes a good man. And we're going to be discussing various things in terms of what qualities good men have, what people think a good man is. How can you be a good man in the 21st century? So I really hope you guys also come along to that. I'm going to put that in the description as well. And yeah, I'd love to see you there. Come along. It's on Zoom. It's free. So come and check that out. So here is my episode with Nathan Esson. So, Nathan, welcome to the Black Raww Podcast. It's really good to have you on.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for allowing me on, Tino. I reached out to you, thought we'd have a really good conversation. So looking forward to getting started.
Yeah, I always love when people reach out, to be honest with you. So I'm happy with that. And quite funny enough, we both did sort of same courses at university. You did psychology at university. I did criminology and psychology. So I wanted to be a psychologist at one point. But then since I did the dual honors, I didn't get to do any of the fun stuff for either topic. Like other people were dissecting brains and I was just like out here dying doing stats. And I was like, I can't keep doing stats, man. Like, so I pivoted a little bit. But psychology and people were always something that I was quite interested in. So I guess for you, like in terms of why did you do psychology at uni? What was it about psychology that interested you?
Yeah, it's funny enough you say that. I guess just understanding why we do what we do. In my school, it wasn't something that we were allowed to do at the time. It was something that you had to do in sixth form. And honestly, just fell in love with the subject. I find it so interesting, and because it's why we do what we do, it ended up, I guess, tying into a load of my other interests. Like I love history and stuff like that. It explained a lot about that. I was interested in religion and maybe why I wasn't as religious as other people when I was younger. Sports as well, and it just tied into all these other interests, relationship dynamics. So yeah, it was always going to be the choice for me. I know a lot of my friends at the time were doing stuff like business and everything like that. But that was just always my main interest.
Nah, fair enough. Yeah, psychology was always interesting. It was similar as well. I enjoyed it sort of because it was sort of we're finding out about how people became people, like how we become the adults we are. Learned a lot about like attachment styles and babies, and it's interesting when you're like, oh, okay, so how you're treated when you're a child impacts what you look like when you're older. It's like, oh, that's crazy. Like we never really think about the intricacies of how that works, but I think psychology sort of made you sort of think about that and how everything sort of works together, and even understanding ourselves. It was always interesting. I always enjoyed, because I did A-level psychology as well, so my teacher made it really interesting. Even the times when we were learning about why animals are mating and stuff like that, and we went to the zoo one time. It was fun. It was a lot of fun, actually. I miss school trips. Don't get to do that. Like
there's so many different theories as well, right? You've got behaviour, you've got cognitive, you've got evolutionary, you've got psychodynamic, you've got all these different things. So when you're kind of putting in, when you're doing your tests and whatnot, and you have to argue from different sides, it's actually all interesting stuff. So I think that's what kind of made it a little bit different for me. Why people comply, why people are obedient. It's fascinating.
Yeah, those were always interesting, and they took this and they talked about sort of people in World War II and why people followed Hitler, and it was and as you said, it sort of aligned with your interest in history as well, because then you're like, oh, okay, why would you follow Hitler? Like, and then you're like, oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense why people would do that. And then I feel like it helps you sort of give an understanding of like, okay, not everyone was bad at that point. It was just sort of, it's just how, as humans, we sort of engage and interact with people. It was very interesting, actually. I enjoyed psychology. I did enjoy psychology.
100%. I remember I asked my boys at the time, about a case study that I had to do. And it really opens your mind. And it was about paedophiles reintegrating back into society. And it was so funny because, when I explained it to the guys, like, oh my gosh, how could you even do a subject like that? And I'm saying it's just my case study. But then you actually do start to understand, the difference between a convicted paedophile and then somebody that unfortunately just has those strange type of urges and whatnot. And there's a lot more into it, and, things that may have happened in their childhood that affects the way they are, in their adult life. And if you haven't had that same experience, then how can you be so hard on someone that's unfortunately had a traumatic childhood? So I guess it just really, really opens up your brain.
Yeah, it definitely does open up your brain 100%. Because yeah, you like obviously if you're thinking, oh my gosh, why would you allow pedophiles to reintegrate in society? But then when you think about it and when you hear sort of different stories and different perspectives, because I think there are schools of thought that it's sort of like it is sort of a mental disorder. Like it is sort of like there are people out there that are attracted to children but don't act upon it, but like are struggling because of the shame, because of the isolation. And I think there are sort of programs out there in different places of the world that are trying to help them. It's bad when you enact on it, but you need some help before that part, you know what I mean? But psychology sort of helps you give an understanding of like, okay, there's more to it than just good and bad, you know, there's the nuances in between.
1,000%. 1,000%.
So you've also done business development, and you know, as you're saying, all your mates were doing business at the same time when you were doing psychology. So you ended up going there. I wanted to know, how does sort of business development and psychology interact with each other?
Yeah, so very good question. I think when I finished uni, I was at that stage where I thought, do I do a master's? And then I was like, I kind of want to earn money. And I've always been a bit of a salesman. So I went to a recruitment job, absolutely hated it. And one of the things that I did at uni was just to earn a bit of money on the side, I did promotional sales. I used to love that. I used to love going out as well. So then I started to do that abroad, started to earn good money abroad, managed a business abroad as well. And that kind of just was me. And then ended up, deciding, right, I can't just be, drinking 3 times a week. Even
though it's for your job. But
exactly. It's a fun lifestyle. But then I wanted to take all of that experience that I learned and go into corporate sales. And then I guess where the two marry up a bit is increasing, team performance, productivity, improving morale between the team. So I always kind of had ideas on how I can integrate the two. But my full-time job, so I'm a business development manager for an energy company at this moment in time. And because of the energy crisis, my job just completely slowed down. We couldn't sell it anymore. So I saw the opportunity to become a coach. And I thought, brilliant, this is where I can marry up the two. So I did a coaching course last year, did a diploma, got my diploma this year as a certified performance coach, self-development expert, and decided to set up my business. So that's the way, I guess, I've made the two kind of transition. So I've got my own business. I actually do offer to help businesses as well, do workshops, group coaching, one-to-one sessions as well. But then I also do that outside of businesses, with individuals that you would see online, for example.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. So you sort of went from sort of party boy, but also working as well. So it's not like you were just not doing anything. You were working. Yeah. You're getting your bread, but you're enjoying yourself at the same time. And I feel like it probably was quite a nice sort of stage in your life where it's like you can just sort of chill, but also do that thing. But then I like sort of how you sort of came back and sort of, I don't know if pivot is the word, but you sort of took the skills that you have with psychology, with developing the business, with working in an energy company. So you've got all them skills and now you're sort of putting that into coaching. And do you say you're also helping businesses develop their business as well? Is that part of the coaching structure as well?
Yeah, so there was an opportunity with a law firm actually at quite early into my, me setting up the business and whatnot. And unfortunately that did fall through. But that looked like a really interesting project, should I say, because I was going to help them with their mental health policy, do group coaching and do one-to-one sessions. But I have now had more opportunities. So I'm actually going to be working, I think, next month with a university, coaching some of their students. So that's quite a nice business opportunity. And then I've spoken to a couple of other businesses about doing something similar to what I was doing in the law firm. So it is just, it's incredible some of the opportunities that kind of arise. from the coaching journey, especially so early on. So I'm sure more and more opportunities will come from that, especially the more that I reach out to companies.
Yeah, definitely. What are you sort of most looking forward to in terms of coaching people or helping companies sort of set up? Like, what are you looking forward to the most, you say?
Do you know what? My main thing. So, as much as I'd love to be working with big companies and whatnot. My main thing is to really make a dent in the men's mental health space. Unfortunately, suicide's at an all-time high with men. Men just don't feel like they can express themselves in this generation. They feel like they've lost their voice. They're struggling with societal pressure of what it is to even be a man anymore. And they're struggling to communicate those feelings. And I want to be part of the change to bring down that suicide rate and just relate to men. I mean, I'm someone that's struggled to open up. I've seen the negative effects it's had on me. So I just think if I can do that, you can do that. If Tyson Fury can talk about his mental health problems and he was, heavyweight champion of the world, why the hell can you not do it? So I just want to show men that there are services out there to help you and support you, and you don't have to just deal with these things and issues that you've got alone.
Yeah, I haven't watched the Tyson Fury documentary, but one of my friends said it was really good. But then I saw like the little advert on Netflix as I was scrolling through, and he was talking about that he was bipolar, and I was like, oh, I had no idea that he was bipolar. And his wife was like, God gave me a challenge. Like God said I needed a challenge. But I thought that was really interesting in terms of that, like, yeah, this dude who's like boxer, like just mega famous, super. If you look at him, you're like, oh my gosh, he's like pinnacle of man. He's so hench, he's so this and that. But like the man is suffering from a mental disorder, which at one point in time was looked at as like you were crazy. So it's very interesting that he's been able to be vulnerable and be like, yeah, this is sort of what I go through and what I'm going through. And I really admire that in terms of, as you were saying, that you want to make a dent in the men's mental health space. And yeah, like really, I think our missions really did align. So I'm so glad you did reach out, because it is important. It's important for men to be able to express what's going on with them, to, be able to be vulnerable with themselves, but also with their partners. It just leads to better men. It leads to stronger men. It leads to more healthy men. And as you're saying, the suicide rate is going up. So I think it's work that's definitely needed. So I'm glad that's sort of what you said in terms of what you're most looking forward to and what you're wanting to do.
100%. 100. That is the big thing for me. And funny enough, actually, I've just started working with a charity called Talk Club. And I've set up, a men's talking group. Charity, as I said, it's free of charge in Bedfordshire. The first one in the Beds Hearts region. And funny enough, Tyson Fury actually endorses us.
Oh, wow.
So when he did his version of Sweet Caroline, that he actually, all the proceeds actually went to Talk Club before I started working with them, to be fair. But yeah, it's incredible. I did like I wrote an article, the first article I've ever written, and it went into the Luton Herald and Post. And some of the article actually was centered around Tyson Fury. And I think he's kind of the perfect advocate because, as you said, to a lot of men, he seems like the pinnacle of man. Like you said about Mike Tyson, the baddest man on the planet. Tyson Fury can technically knock out any man. And it
pretty much.
Exactly. And it's just a great example of, if he can do it, then what is stopping you? And I think more men need to see that, because there still is a lot of stigma around, that man-up mentality from when they're younger. And don't get me wrong, I think a big part of the reason why I want to get into it as well is because I'm definitely not saying to men, you have to be crying every day and you just need to be like overly emotional. I don't think that's the solution. But it is about creating a safe space for men to be able to talk to one another, at least about what they're going through. They might sometimes even feel uncomfortable, unfortunately, open up around some of their friends, their partner. So, if that is the case and you don't feel comfortable in that setting, reach out to a professional, because they're actually skilled to be able to listen to you and help you and discuss what's actually going on. as opposed to maybe just relate it to themselves, for example.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? I think the thing is that's so great about being a man, is that we can sort of do it. We can be vulnerable and we can be open and honest in our own way. I don't think it would be good of us to, like, it wouldn't even sort of be natural of us to be vulnerable in the way that women are vulnerable, in the way that women express their emotions. But there's ways in which we can take things from them. We can be like, okay, their vocabulary and how they describe their feelings is amazing. Let's take that and put it in our own words, in our own version. If we want to cry, it's okay to cry. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to cry all the time, but I think as men, we love to come up with solutions. But I feel like we maybe don't give the time to be in our feels. So like, be in your feels, that's great. Express that, understand what's going on for you, and then come up with a solution. Like, because we love to come up with solutions. So let's do the thing that's going to help us actually heal first, and then we can come up with a better solution. Like, I think there's a way in which, as men, there's ways that we can do it ourselves that is true to who we are as men.
You know what? I love that you said that, because when I was growing up, a lot of my idols at the time were people like The Rock, Arnold Schwarzenegger, these big, big dudes that were just like super charismatic. And I do believe in, like, I do personally think, for me, like, I do like a lot of, like, the masculine traits, like being strong, being fit, trying to conquer, providing for your family, protecting for your family. I do believe in all of that, but I believe the pinnacle of being a man, yes, some of those traits, but it is, as you said, it is, for me, being an emotionally intelligent man, being able to be in control of your emotions. I agree. I don't think an overly emotional man, maybe in the some way that some women are, would be great for society, because sometimes they can end up being a school shooter or something like that.
Or president.
There you go. So, I completely agree. I do think it's about picking up certain traits that might, not seem traditionally masculine, but they're only going to help you be a better husband. They're going to help you be a better father. I think to be a well-rounded man, should I say, it's important to have some of those traits as well.
Yeah, definitely. I saw what you, in terms of when you said talk club, I was looking through your LinkedIn and stuff like that before this conversation. And I was like, oh, I really like that. And it just happened that it sort of came up in this conversation. But I wanted to find out sort of what conversations are men having in these discussion groups. Like, what are you finding that men are talking about when it comes to their mental health, or like their self-development and communication and all of that?
Yeah, so I'll be very, very honest. I've only done the one session so far.
Let's calm.
So it's only really going to start kicking off from our second session, really. However, from what I've seen so far, it's mainly, what's nice about it is, so the first question that I would ask when I go around the room is how are you out of 10? And then I talk about kind of what men are happy with, what's gone well in their week, what they're grateful for, what they're going to do to improve their mental fitness. So that might be walking, that might be going for a run, that might be spending more time with family. And then towards the end of the session, I'll also ask them how they are out of 10 again. And it's incredible to see how much the men's scores rise. On average, people usually start out at about 6.2. And by the end, and this is across the whole of the country, they're usually at about a high 7. And that just shows the impact of a 2-hour talk group, that men feel so much better just when they've spoken to other men, have had a laugh. It's nice as well, because it's not like you're going down the pub and people are drinking all sorts, might even be some narcotics, who knows? Whereas it's just men being able to talk about what's going on and, have a laugh and just feel a lot better by opening up. So the good thing is as well, is because some of the captains, like for myself, great, I'm a coach. Some of the captains just simply are. They've just been people that have been, gone to their own talk clubs for a little while, and they've obviously shown the attributes to be made into a captain. So it's not about, it's not a therapy session. It's not about digging up things from the past. It's simply about what's going on now and what you're going to work on for the next week, the next 2 weeks, the next month to ensure your mental fitness is at its best. And also another aspect of it as well. Yeah, and just I guess my last point is just, although the whole idea is to, I guess, improve one another's mental fitness, is the fact that it's okay not to be okay. So yeah, a lot of the time, don't get me wrong, the scores obviously do increase. They definitely increase during the session, but they might increase week by week, or I'm doing my sessions personally month by month. However, sometimes someone might come in at a 4 or a 3. They might have had a really bad week, but feel free to open up about what you want to open up to the group. And I'm sure there's going to be other men in a similar situation to yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I really like that, to be honest with you. And I think at Black Raww, I used to do, I say we, like there's other people that's working with it on but I used to do some sort of monthly talks and men talks as well. And I sort of dropped off with it, like just in terms of life and work got a bit long and hectic. But I'm starting to sort of pick that back up again. And I always loved those groups and those chats because we sort of had quite interesting conversations, and it just gave people a space where they could just talk about things and be open and be honest and be vulnerable. And I think we definitely need more spaces like that. You know, some people might look at it and be like, oh, you know, there's so much competition for men's groups. And I'm like, it doesn't matter, like, because at the end of the day, one, there's so many men out there. And two, like, you're reaching men in that area. I'm reaching men in this area. Even if we have some overlap, it's okay. Isn't it great that we actually have spaces where men can just go and talk and they can choose and pick and choose where they want to go? So I always sort of admire when I see different men doing men's groups and sort of just allowing them to talk about stuff that's important to them, because it's necessary. We haven't had a lot of spaces like that, so it's good we're seeing more spaces like that coming through.
That's it. And the thing is as well, it's about spreading awareness, right? Because I have to admit, before my coaching journey, I didn't actually know there were many services. But then I did, for example, I did a podcast with, he's called Luton's Deadpool. He dresses up in a Deadpool outfit. But he does some really great mental health work in Luton. And I didn't know that he does his own talk group. And then when I was trying to find a venue for the talk club in Bedfordshire, I realised there were other services as well. So it's about getting those services out there. So there are the services there, just unfortunately men aren't exploring them, or they're not being pushed enough. So I think, yeah, just spreading more awareness about these types of services for men is super key.
Yeah, definitely. And so in terms of with your coaching, I saw on your YouTube that it said that you're helping men become better men. So I wanted to ask you, why do men need to become better men?
Good question. It's not the fact that I feel men need to become better men. I feel like men a lot of the time just want to become better men. I feel like a lot of us live a quiet life of desperation, which is where, you know, we're stuck in a rut, we're bored, our values are completely misplaced into things just like possessions or just simply money alone. And a lot of us are crying out for some sort of support to push us, but we just don't have that because unfortunately life gets in the way. And now we're in a generation of people that have more distractions now more than ever. Social media, the internet, you're just constantly distracted by all of these things. And then as you get older, you've got bills to pay, more chores, family. And a lot of us sometimes don't end up, you know, living the life that we actually intend to live. So there's two elements of it. It's kind of like a 360 approach, right? I want to help men actually open up and be honest about what they want in life and open up about their issues, expose, eradicate, deal with them and move past them. But then it's also about helping them achieve the goals that they set themselves in life. So it's a bit of a two-pronged attack, but the whole idea is that they leave the process, the step up coaching process, with a sense of purpose, with a sense of control over their lives. They have much more improved relationships with their friends, their colleagues, their partner. The fact that they've got these tools now succeed for the rest of their lives outside of the coaching. They now know how to action plan. They know how to goal set. And that is the idea. And they've also developed a winning mindset. So they've got used to achieving these small steps. So when they're in that situation again, they don't have to reach out to a coach because they know what to do.
Yeah, I like that, to be fair. I think that is good. I think, yeah, as you said, we all sort of want to become better men. And like, even through this podcast, like even through some of the stuff that I do, like it's a part of me wanting to become like a better man. You know, I think we're all sort of on that sort of journey. And yeah, it takes a while, and it's not going to happen overnight. And sometimes you need a coach to do it. Sometimes you sort of need support. But I think what's also great in sort of like, there is a lot of distractions, don't get me wrong, but I think in the age we also live in now, there's so many resources and tools that you can use to sort of help you get there and get where you need to go. That, you know, you can look on YouTube, and like, for me right now, one of my main priorities is fixing my health, is becoming a much healthier person just in general. And like, I've been watching this dude. I found this dude on TikTok. I forgot his James something, but this white British dude. But like, I just love sort of what he did on TikTok. And then now I've subscribed to his YouTube. But like, now suddenly the algorithm is showing me loads of health things because you've seen one. But like, I was looking at a video, I was watching a video of his the other day, and it was just sort of giving me encouragement, giving me advice on what to do and how to be healthier and stuff like that. So yeah, I think men are trying to be better. It's just, how do you be better? And I like sort of your approach in terms of, you want to do how you're doing with your coaching, and helping men figure out their values again, and what principles do you live by? Who do you want to be? Like, why do you want to be that person? And for you, I guess, sort of, how is your journey on sort of your self-development, the man you want to be? How is that going?
Yeah, that is a really, really good question. I think, do you know what I've learned? Sometimes a lot of the times you do have to pay for a service to be fully committed to a process, because don't get me wrong, I always say, you know, try it yourself, go on YouTube, watch self-development videos, as you say, you know, maybe even watch someone that you aspire to be, like a David Goggins. If you don't leave a David Goggins video wanting to go to the gym,
His book is really good as well, actually. I read his book. Very fantastic.
That's good to know. That would definitely be on the reading list. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely would advise to definitely try it yourself. But to get to that next level, I think having somebody that can ask you those difficult questions and effective questions at the right time is key. And that's what I've learned. You know, I feel like I'm a much better person since I started my coaching journey, especially, you know, unfortunately, me and my ex-girlfriend, we're not together anymore. However, just being a better boyfriend in terms of, I've always been someone that's, you know, good at talking to people. You know, I keep my cool very, very well. It's rare that you'll see me get annoyed about anything. But being able to see things from a different perspective is so, so key. Like, I talked to a coach about like maybe a dispute that we'd had recently that maybe wasn't so personal, but just a dispute. And I'm just thinking, I can't see where I'm wrong in this.
Yeah.
Like, it's her fault. Like, yeah, I don't want to go and tell her it's her fault because I don't want to, you know, make the situation worse, but I don't see where I'm going wrong. But then just thinking, oh, okay, I could have dealt with this better. I didn't need to say that. You know, what do I really want for the relationship moving forwards? I want us to work out. So is it really worth nibbling or biting at a small point?
Yeah, whether you're right or not.
Held back on that. You know, that kind of thing, just seeing things from different perspectives. And they're not even advising me. They're literally just asking me questions to help me self-reflect. I think that those type of things are so, so important. Like, especially for setting up a business as well, making sure you're taking small steps to get to your big goal, making sure you've got a structured action plan. Because as I said, you know, life takes over. I've got a full-time job. I'm doing coaching. Now I'm working with a men's charity. It's very, very easy to become, you know, unorganized. So being able to make sure you've got a coach throughout your journey is super key.
Yeah, definitely. I had a coach before I started Black Raww, and to be fair, it really was him that sort of helped me started it. His name was Coach Dumi, for anybody that wants a coach. It was absolutely fantastic. But he sort of helped me realize, he was like, okay, so who do you want to be? Like, what do you want to be? Like, what does an exceptional Tino look like? Like, what is an exceptional Tino's day? Like your day, you set your day out like this, and like where do you want to be? Who do you want to be? And even then he was like, okay, I'm going to give you a project. I want you to do something that you're passionate about, like something that you're really interested in. And I wanted to do a men's talk about Black masculinity, because I was like, that's something I feel like I could talk on and do. And then throughout the whole planning, I was like, yo, I want to do a podcast. I want to do a podcast. I want to do a podcast. I was like, just going to do a podcast. And I'll do the talk and I'll do the podcast. But I got more excited about the podcast than the actual talk, because I was like, yeah, I want to do that. But he really helped me figure out sort of what I want to do and what I want to be. So Dumi, if you are listening, thank you. He also did come onto the podcast as well. It was my third episode. But yeah, he was a real handy. But I agree with you. We do need to, I think we need to accept sort of paying for information is okay. Like it's got to be done. Not everything can be free, as much as we'd love to. Like, you've got to sometimes fork up the money for something. Like, even I met these dudes called Social Boom, and they sort of help like grow your media platform and stuff like that. And they've got a community group where they all sort of support each other, give each other ideas, and help each other with stuff out. I haven't joined yet, but I definitely do want to join. That's something I'm willing to be like, yeah, I'm going to put money towards it, because I know it's going to help me out in the long term. And it's just, people are experts for a reason, aren't they? People charge for a reason. No one charges.
100%. Obviously, if they're getting the results, they've obviously got their own business to run. And my thing is don't just pay for any service. Make sure it's, for example, a credible coach, someone that's potentially done a diploma or a school of thought, so they know what they're talking about. Make sure you look into their testimonials. Make sure the results that they're helping their clients get align with what you want in life. Make sure, you've read about, their About Me section, see if they're kind of aligned with where you want to be. And then book in a free call. I mean, pretty much every coach allows you to book in a free call. Yeah. And that call shouldn't be an obligation to work with them. That should be a call to suss out whether they're the perfect person to help you get to where you want to be. So there are a few steps to take. Don't just pay for anything, but don't be afraid if you're thinking, that's a person to help me, but I am going to have to make an investment. I can watch a few videos, because when you put the money into something, you're going to be so much more committed than if you're not, because there's nothing to really keep you in place. You think, oh, okay, I'll just go out with my friends on the weekend and I'll leave that to another day. But when you've got money on the line, you think, oh, okay, no, let me make sure I get that part of my action plan completed.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's also just sort of an accountability aspect of it, isn't it? You've got someone that is going to be on your ass if you don't do what you do. And it's not even the fact that they're going to be on your ass. It's like they know that you can do it, and you know that you can do it. You're going to be sort of just more disappointed in yourself that you haven't done it. So it's quite essential, I would say. In terms of when we talked before, and I saw something, I think I saw a podcast that you were on, in terms of you talked about some of the issues that are facing men right now. You talked about the dating scene. I thought that was quite interesting. Could you elaborate on that, or in terms of what you're thinking?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I know not everyone might have the opinion of this, but I guess even in the way that I coach, it's a little bit, I've met like coaches that are like super positive coaches, positivity. But I feel like, and this is, worked with every single person I've coached so far, it is important to bring people into a bit of a realistic nature about what's going on. Don't get me wrong, I won't give my advice, but it's important to bring them into reality and help them understand what's going to happen if you don't make the changes in life. I say all that to say dating. So I guess my opinion of where the dating world is going and why it's kind of ending up in a bit of a tricky situation is, and this is not women's fault, but women have, become more successful, which is great. They earn more money. And even from, I guess, my own experiences, I have noticed that, in my personal opinion, women are hypergamous. Genuinely, this is not every single woman, but genuinely. So that means they usually date someone their socioeconomic status or level of finances or higher. Unfortunately, men have, men don't attend university, for example, to nowhere near the rate that women have, despite, unfortunately, women being oppressed in the past and not being able to go to university.
Yeah.
Men have just become less successful. They've become lazier. They've become, more addicted to porn, junk food, video games. And women now, for the first time, a lot of the time, are actually out earning men in their 20s. And the problem is that, especially because of social media, so it's a bit of a multifaceted answer, but because of social media, women have got more options now more than ever. You would have had somebody, I always give this example, Sally in a small town, let's say West Brom, she probably 30 years ago would have ended up dating somebody else in West Brom.
Yeah.
Now she's got options to date whoever, right?
She's got Tinder, she's got Hinge, she's got Bumble, you've got Instagram,
and
Twitter.
The biggest dating app of all time, Instagram. She can simply, DM her favorite rapper when her favorite rapper's in town, and the favorite rapper likes her. She sleeps with that rapper, and then she thinks that that's her standard. I'm not going below that because I've now slept with this rapper. And the problem is that there's a whole sea of men that just aren't getting looked into anymore. They've done quite a few studies where, women now say they find 80% of men unattractive. Men swipe on Tinder 50% of the time, women swipe 5% of the time.
Mad.
So it's heavily skewed. And the problem is, I know there's a lot of talk about the top 10%, the top 20%, but it is true that a lot of women are going for that top 10 to 20% of men. So there's a whole sea of men that aren't getting looked into. And then probably the scariest stat of all is the fact that 1 in 3 men under the age of 30 are now sexless for the first time. About 10 years ago, that used to be, so in 2012, they did a similar study, and that was 8%. So that has rapidly increased. So don't get me wrong, can we just ignore the stats? Yeah, we can ignore the stats, but it is something that's increasing and becoming more of a problem. And they've already predicted that by 2040, between the ages of 20 to 45, 45% of women will be single or childless. And again, a big part of that is that, women kind of want to, do their thing in their 20s, which is more than fine, then look for a partner maybe in their 30s.
Yeah.
But men typically go for someone that's younger.
Yeah. It's a conundrum.
I know I've just spoken for ages, but that is the way that I see it, and that is backed up by stats. And I just feel like something's got to give, and I personally just feel like the best solution for it is for men to pull their finger out. And if you want this lifestyle, then you're gonna have to start putting in the work into it. I think anyone can do better for themselves, and I think women just have to be a bit more understanding of the fact that sometimes their expectations are a little bit too high. There's a lot of women saying, I only date someone that earn 100 grand a year. I'm not saying that's all women, but it's heavily unrealistic.
No one earns 100 grand.
1%.
Yeah.
So there's something that's got to give.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think both sides have got to change behaviors in some way. I think it's amazing that women are, because the thing is, right, I think a lot of these women also would have seen their mothers sort of because it was such a smaller set such a smaller set of men that maybe you were exposed to, you didn't necessarily get the best you could. And so they've seen their mothers being sort of settling, really. And their mothers were in such completely different positions than they are in now. They didn't have the the tools or the resources to be as successful as their daughters are being, right? So
Yeah.
we're seeing women now doing a lot better, which is fantastic, amazing, should happen, needs to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, the men are slowly lacking behind. And I think it was quite easy for the men of my father's generation and maybe just a bit below. You know, you had sort of your manual labor roles. Like you had, okay, we do this, this is what we do. We come back home, provide for the family, wives at home cooking, you know, the roles were set, the roles were very defined. And now the roles are skewed. We're in a sort of a new age where it's like, okay, how do we relate? How do we figure out? Like, I think it's great that sort of women are being like, I just want to do my stuff in my 20s and then sort of get married. Then you're right. Men usually go for younger women. You know, like, I don't know if you ever experienced this, but like in school, like I feel like girls always used to go for the older guys. Like, so like if those girls your age, they never usually went for you because they usually like the older guys because he's got the car. Like,
let's admit, we all know the worrying story of when we were like 14. The hottest girl in the year was dating a 21-year-old. And you just thought, what was going on there? Or the 16-year-old was dating like the 19-year-old. And that unfortunately just did happen.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not just men going for women going for older men as well. Like there's got to be accountability on both sides. Obviously, if you're a bloody paedophile, like a 21-year-old going for a 14-year-old, you've got to take all the blame. But it's because, you know, you can argue that women just mature faster. They mature faster. They're dating older people. So, yeah, that is just a fact.
Yeah, there's a fact. Yeah, you're right. And women do mature older. Like I think their development stops like, I don't know, much earlier than men, basically. And even I remember I was listening to this dude called Richard Reeves, and he was talking about his crisis in boys and men in education. And he was like, yeah, there is. He was like, men. And even you gave the stats about women that are doing much better at university and all of this and that. And so I don't know, for men, you're right. We need to pull our fingers out of our asses and sort of be like, okay, we're in a new age now where our roles aren't defined as easy. So how do we be the best person that we can be and, you know, attract the women that we want to attract, you know, be appealing to the women that are earning more than us, or, you know, like a woman can be earning more than you, but if you're sort of on your game and you're on the come up, but then you're also like emotionally intelligent and you also can express your feelings, bro, you're going to be ahead of the mark. Sure, you might not be earning more than her, but like if you're on your stuff and you're on the come up and then you also are emotionally intelligent, bro, you're winning. You're winning.
This is why, you know, like a lot of people like hear my content and they probably would just think, you know, I'm one of those red pill guys and stuff like that. But like, yeah, don't get me wrong. I definitely do agree that, you know, anyone can self-develop and it's all about self-improvement. I am heavily into that. But then I wouldn't be like a lot of those guys. And that's why I don't subscribe to that, because I don't think it's all about, oh yeah, you know, the guy needs to be having multiple wives, or the guy needs to be like heavily out earning his woman and providing for her, because one, it's extremely unrealistic. As I said, there's not many men that earn 100 grand, and it is 100 grand still is, you know, with some of the lifestyle that maybe the woman wants, and then when you have kids and stuff like that, just that one income alone might not even be enough anyway.
These days it isn't.
Exactly. When that gets taxed, that's a different story. So that side of things I don't completely agree with. But yeah, it's about adapting to the times that we're in now. It's about not complaining, and it's about, yeah, just understanding the way that life is at this moment in time, and what can you do to be the best you, to attract, yeah, as you said, to attract partners.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting.
Very interesting.
And so I've enjoyed this whole conversation that we've had, Nathan. And I just wanted to ask you the final question, which I ask all my guests. Say if there's a young Black boy that's listening to this conversation, how can something that you know help them with an understanding of themselves?
Yes. And this is a coaching question that I sometimes ask my clients. I think this is a big penny drop moment. So I'll ask it in a slightly different fashion, right? Write down on a piece of paper where you want to be in life, right? And then just simply ask yourself, are you making the steps towards it? And what's going to happen if you just continue with life with the way it is at this moment in time? Would you be happy with yourself?
No.
And if that answer is no, then you need to do something about it. You need some sort of support. You need to look at self-development videos, self-improvement videos. You need to have and this is something I believe is huge, especially for young Black women. You need to have a role model, a positive role model, not a foolish role model, positive role model. Because a lot of the time you are going to subscribe it to a lot of the behaviors that you do see. So make sure you're ingesting the right type of content as well. That's actually going to help you, not hinder you. That is probably the best bit of advice that I could give. Try to take advantage of any free resources that you can see. But when you can be honest with yourself and you know that you need something extra to help you push yourself to that next level and unlock untapped potential, reach out to a coach, reach out to a mentor, someone that can give you the results that you want.
Yeah, definitely. So no, thank you. Thank you very much. I even answered your question. But no, Nathan, thank you very much for coming onto the podcast. It was really good. I loved chatting with you and hopefully we can do it again sometime as well.
100%. I'd love to. It's been a great chat. Thank you for having me on.
So no, bro. Have a good day. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day as well.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
So guys, that is the end of the episode. Thank you very much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Please tell me what you thought of the episode in the comments. And, Nathan said that he's got a discussion group on the 7th of September. So as I said, go and check that out. That's going to be in the show notes, so you can go and check that. And then come along to my talk on the 5th of September as well. So I'd love to see you guys there. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have a good day.